quick ad. With Time Twist, you get exciting, bizarre, and significant historical events delivered to your phone every single day. Enjoying this episode? There's so much more in the app. You'll find the link in the show notes. Let's get started.
June 8th. You know, you might just glance at the calendar, but when we started digging, it turns out this one date is packed with some pretty major moments.
It really is. We're talking politics, nature, culture, science. Quite the mix.
Exactly. And we've pulled together a lot of different sources for news reports from the time, historical analysis, scientific papers, cultural commentary, all focused on June 8th.
That's right. The idea is to give you the most interesting bits, the real significance, without you having to sift through everything yourself.
So if you like getting up to speed fast and understanding the context, well, this for you. Consider this your shortcut through a surprisingly eventful day in history.
Yeah, we think you'll appreciate this curated look. It's pretty fascinating when you see it all laid out.
Okay, let's get into it. First stop, quite recently actually, June 8th, 2023. South Korea faced some really intense flooding.
Yeah, the images were dramatic. Whole areas underwater. It's a stark reminder, isn't it,
Mhm.
about climate change and its very real impacts.
Definitely brings it home. But what also stood out in the reports was the human side.
Absolutely. Amidst all the destruction, you saw stories of, neighbors helping neighbors, communities pulling together. That resilience, that solidarity, it's always striking in a crisis.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's jump back a bit. June 8th, 2017, the UK snap election.
Ah, yes, the one that didn't quite go as planned for Theresa May.
Not at all. Expected a bigger majority, got a hung parliament instead. And Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party did surprisingly well.
It really sort of threw a wrench into the idea of predictable politics, didn't it?
It did.
Showed how quickly public opinion can shift, how campaigns can, catch fire. It makes you think about what's really driving voters.
Okay, shifting gears now. Egypt, June 8th, 2014, the election of Abdel Fattah el-Sisi.
A really pivotal moment for Egypt, especially coming after the Arab Spring uprisings a few years earlier.
Yeah, and looking back, the perspectives on it are quite different, depending on who you ask.
Exactly. You see some sources framing it as, well, a necessary move for stability after all the turmoil. But then on the flip side, others raise real concerns about democracy, about human rights.
It highlights those really difficult trade-offs countries sometimes face, especially after major upheaval.
Precisely. Stability versus reform. It's a complex balance.
Let's move to something completely different. Outer space, June 8th, 2004, the transit of Venus.
Oh, that was incredible. The first time in 122 years you could see Venus pass directly in front of the sun.
I remember the buzz around it, people setting up telescopes, watching online. It felt like a global event.
It really did. And beyond just the spectacle, historically, these transits were super important for science.
Right, for figuring out the scale of the solar system.
Exactly. Early astronomers used them to make crucial calculations.
Yeah.
So it's this amazing blend of rare celestial beauty and fundamental science.
Sticking with the early 2000s, June 8th, 2003, Poland votes yes to joining the EU.
A massive decision. Overwhelmingly yes to.
Definitely a huge step, especially considering Poland's history behind the Iron Curtain. It really signaled a major shift.
Oh, absolutely. Joining the EU opened up so many economic doors, reshaped its place in Europe after decades of, Soviet influence. That vote really reflected a national aspiration.
And now for the sporting world. June 8th, 2002, Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson.
The big heavyweight clash. Lewis won, knockout in the 8th round.
But what was maybe unexpected was the aftermath, right?
Yeah, there was this surprising level of, respect shown between them afterwards, despite all the pre-fight hype and tension.
It's that interesting thing you sometimes see fierce rivals, but then a kind of mutual acknowledgement once it's over.
Grace under pressure, perhaps. Win or lose. It's compelling.
Now let's talk passion, football passion. June 8th, 1996, Euro 96 kicks off in England.
Oh, you couldn't escape it. It's coming home. That song was everywhere.
It really captured the mood, didn't it? Even though England didn't end up winning the tournament.
No, but the whole event, that anthem, it just became part of the cultural fabric, a real moment of collective excitement and, hope. Shows the power of sport.
On a more global scale, June 8th, 1992, the very first World Ocean Day.
Yeah, it started relatively small, didn't it? An initiative proposed at the Earth Summit in Rio.
But it's grown massively since then. Now it's a huge global movement for ocean conservation.
And its growth kind of mirrors our increasing awareness. The understanding that we need to protect our oceans, it shows how these things can build momentum over time.
Going back a bit further again, June 8, 1987, New Zealand makes a very bold move.
Declaring itself a nuclear-free zone, that was a big statement on the world stage, especially during the Cold War.
It had consequences too, right? Impacted alliances, like with the U.S.
It did, but it was a principled stand. A nation deciding to prioritize its values, even if it came with diplomatic costs. It resonated globally with anti-nuclear movements.
Okay, let's talk about steps towards freedom and rights. June 8, 1984, New South Wales, Australia.
A really significant date there, the decriminalization of homosexuality.
A vital step. It's about dignity, recognition, basic human rights.
Absolutely. A landmark moment in the ongoing fight for LGBTQ+ equality, paving the way for further progress and acceptance.
Now, a very different kind of event, and a tragic one. June 8, 1953, Flint, Michigan.
The devastating tornado. A terrible loss of life, hundreds injured, just awful.
Truly horrific, but even out of such tragedy, sometimes lessons are learned.
Yes. The sources show that the Flint tornado was actually a catalyst for major improvements in tornado warning systems and also in building practices to try and mitigate future disasters.
A somber reminder of nature's power, but also of our capacity to adapt and improve safety.
Exactly. And then on June 8, 2009, we marked the passing of Gabon's President Omar Bongo.
He was in power for an incredibly long time, 41 years.
An exceptionally long tenure. And that kind of prolonged leadership inevitably leaves a very deep and often complex mark on a nation's politics, its economy, its whole structure.
Definitely a significant figure in Central African history, for better or worse, depending on the perspective.
Indeed. His legacy is certainly multifaceted.
Right. Let's celebrate some notable people born on this day, June 8th. Quite a lineup.
There are some real heavy hitters here.
First up, Sir Tim Berners-Lee, born 1955, the man who basically gave us the World Wide Web.
I mean, where would we be? It's hard to overstate his impact. Communication, information, business, everything transformed.
Truly revolutionary. Then Nancy Sinatra, born 1940.
These boots are made for walking. An icon. That distinctive style, that voice, very much of her time, but also timeless.
Definitely. Kanye West, born 1977, a huge and sometimes controversial figure in modern culture.
Undeniably influential across music, fashion, you name it. Always sparking debate, pushing boundaries. Love him or not, his impact is massive.
Then we have Kim Clijsters, born 1983, incredible tennis player.
And famous for that amazing comeback after becoming a mother. Won Grand Slams both before and after having her daughter. Just remarkable dedication and talent.
Inspiring stuff. And Eric Weishaus, born 1947, a Nobel Prize winner in physiology or medicine.
Yes, for fundamental work on how genes control early embryonic development. Using fruit flies, he helped unlock basic principles of life, foundational science.
Amazing contributions. And now, for something a little different, on June 8th, 2007, Paris Hilton reports to jail.
Ah, yes. That was quite the media frenzy, wasn't it?
It really was. And some commentary suggests it was kind of a moment, maybe a turning point in celebrity culture and how the public viewed fame and consequences.
It definitely generated a lot of discussion about all of that. Fame, accountability.
Yeah.
It captured a certain zeitgeist.
Okay, final section. Foundations, future visions, maybe some forgotten ideas. June 8th, 1912, Universal Pictures is founded.
Wow. One of the originals. Think of the movies. Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park. Just scratching the surface, its contribution to cinema is enormous.
Hard to imagine Hollywood without it. Then, a slightly more unusual vision for the future. June 8th, 1959, the U.S. tries missile mail.
Missile mail. They actually launched mail inside a Regulus cruise missile from a submarine to a naval base.
It worked, technically, but probably not the most practical delivery system.
Not exactly cost-effective. But it speaks volumes about that era, doesn't it? The height of the Cold War, the space race, this sort of techno-optimism, trying anything.
Definitely a quirky footnote in postal history, going way back now. June 8th, 1794, revolutionary France.
Robespierre introduces the cult of the supreme being.
Right, this attempt to create a new kind of state religion based on reason and civic virtue to replace Catholicism.
It was part of that radical phase of the French Revolution. Didn't last long, though. Robespierre himself was executed just a few weeks later. A fascinating, intense historical moment.
And finally, let's go back even further. June 8th, 1042, Edward the Confessor becomes King of England.
Seems like ancient history, but it's crucial. His reign, and particularly the fact he died without a clear heir.
Directly led to the succession crisis and the Norman conquest in 1066.
Exactly. William the Conqueror, the Battle of Hastings. It all traces back to the situation created during Edward's time. It shows how events centuries ago can fundamentally shape the future.
So when you pull it all together, June 8th is quite a day, isn't it? Floods, elections, Venus crossing the sun, boxing matches, football anthems, nuclear policy, human rights, tornadoes, celebrity jail time, movie studios, missile mail, forgotten cults, ancient kings.
It's an incredible tapestry. Just highlights how dynamic history is, how many different threads are constantly weaving together on any given day.
It really does. It shows the richness, the complexity, the sheer variety of human experience and historical shifts.
Absolutely. From the globally significant to the personally profound to the slightly bizarre.
So here's a thought to leave you with. As you go about your day, maybe consider the seemingly small things happening now. Which ones might historians, centuries from now, look back on as a turning point? What connections are we missing today?
It's a great question. This dive into June 8th really reminds us that history isn't just in textbooks. It's unfolding all around us, often in ways we won't fully grasp until later.
And that wraps up our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us to explore the surprising layers of June 8th.